Alright, welcome back to my channel. I am Greg Allen. If you're new to my channel, please consider giving me a like and a subscribe. Today we're going to go a little bit over the news of the week. No Grand Prix this week, so I figured it'd be good to go over some of the top stories in Formula 1. Today is October 3rd, so if you're coming across this video, this is leading into the Nürburgring and Germany coming up a little bit later this week. So let's start off with the big news that kicked off this week. Honda shockingly leaving Formula 1. They entered the sport again in 2015 with McLaren. Of course, that's why I'm wearing the hat for a couple of reasons on this board. Things didn't go so well with them. Fernando Alonso, obviously, at McLaren at the time. Tons and tons of criticism and kind of set back McLaren for several years with that partnership. 2018, they joined Toro Rosso. Things start improving for both Honda and Toro Rosso and the Red Bull team. And 2019, they make it official. Red Bull, AlphaTauri, going to be using Honda engines, famously documented in the Drive to Survive Netflix series, where they ultimately decide to go with Honda over Renault. But after just 5 seasons, basically, Honda decides to leave. They will leave with 5 wins, 4 by Red Bull, 1 by AlphaTauri, with Pierre Gasly this year, of course. And that leaves Honda in a bit of an awkward spot. Which brings me to the second point on this board. Renault has said that they will be willing to supply Red Bull with F1 engines starting in 2022. And I'm pretty sure there is an office quote somewhere along the lines of how the turntables have turned. And that's going to create a pretty funny one. Does Red Bull head back to Renault? And what does that conversation look like? I think hopefully Netflix has got the cameras on for that one, because after what we saw in the 2018 series where they decided to leave Renault, if they come crawling back, I think that could be a very, very interesting documentation to see what happens in that conversation. But if you look at it from a pure business standpoint, it makes sense for them to go back. Renault is much more improved. Their engines look fast, and they're consistently qualifying in the top 5 right now with Daniel Ricciardo, and just outside the top 5 with Esteban Ocon. So when you look at best options for Red Bull and AlphaTauri moving forward, there's Renault, and they're willing to take him back. So, like taking back an ex that cheated on you. I don't know. McLaren. Couple bit of news stories coming out. Lando Norris says that McLaren look like a professional F1 team rather than a team that's just trying to make its numbers. And I think that's pretty important because they do. McLaren looks way improved this year. I think they started turning it around towards the end of last year. But Lando Norris and Carlos Sainz have looked really good. And McLaren has looked like a much more capable team that's taking the next steps towards getting themselves up the midfield and maybe knocking on the door on podiums more consistently moving forward. I think that's a big reason of why Daniel Ricciardo decided to head to McLaren. They started showing that improvement before Renault did. So we'll see what happens there. Also out of McLaren, Zak Brown says that he could have blocked Carlos Sainz's move to Ferrari, that contractually they had the ability to put the kibosh on that move to Ferrari, but ultimately decided to let Carlos walk because of the opportunity to sign Daniel Ricciardo. So Zak Brown revealed that they wanted to sign Daniel Ricciardo a few years earlier, and when the opportunity started knocking because Daniel Ricciardo was not happy with what he saw from Renault last year, they jumped on it, and that opened the doors for Carlos Sainz to be able to walk freely to Ferrari. So things played out. We saw how quickly things played out back when this pandemic first started, and basically silly season was going on at kind of an unusual time. Things moved really quickly, but that's pretty much the events and how they played out with McLaren and Ferrari and Renault. So basically everyone got the guy they wanted to get in that situation, with the exception maybe of Renault, who lost Ricciardo and didn't want to. Next up, Ferrari. Mick Schumacher will make his debut in Formula practice at the Nürburgring coming up this week, October 8th, I believe it was, they said. So he will jump into a Ferrari on a Formula 1 circuit in a Formula 1 car for the first time. We had a F1 test with him and Ferrari earlier this week that looked pretty good, and we're getting the foundations of seeing Mick Schumacher maybe making the jump up to Formula 1. Probably won't be with Ferrari anytime soon, but there are Ferrari-affiliated teams that he could possibly find himself into. Alfa Romeo, Haas. There's a couple opportunities with realistically some seats he could jump into. So it'll be super interesting to see how Mick Schumacher does in his first practice. Obviously, a lot of attention. Really good driver, leading the standings right now. But Also, just, I mean, obviously, with that name, his father being who he is, there's going to be a lot of attention to anything Mick Schumacher does in a Formula One car. It's a marketable name. We see that in NASCAR with Dale Earnhardt Jr. and now Chase Elliott, and that's going to be the same thing here in Formula One. That Schumacher name is synonymous with Michael Schumacher, and Mick Schumacher is going to be carrying that into the next generation. And because of that, he's going to be getting a lot of TV time, deals, and deservedly so. He's a good driver. But it'll be really interesting to see what happens there. So that's kind of what's been going on in Formula One this week. Obviously, no Grand Prix. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think that Red Bull will wind up going back to Renault? And what do you think about what's going to happen here with Mick Schumacher? Will he be in a Ferrari in a couple of years? Let me know. And as always, thank you so much. And once again, please consider giving me a like and subscribe if you happen upon this video. See you in the next video.